tell all over the country that's proper for this occasion. And it's a story about a king and his slave. How many of y'all have ever heard this story before I tell it? There was a king back in the day that had a slave that he loved this slave, and everywhere he went, he brought his trusted slave with him. But what made this king very upset is this phrase that this slave would use anytime that they would have problems or they would run into a situation. The slave would repeat this phrase, my king, everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is in God's will. It made the king so mad, but every time they ran into a problem or a situation or a controversy, the slave would say, my king, everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is in God's will. One day the king and his slave was out hunting, and a wild animal jumped on the king. And that slave jumped on that wild animal and tried to get that wild animal off the king. And he did, but not before the wild animal bit one of the king's fingers off. And the king was so mad, he said, my slave, where was this God that you talked about when this animal was all over me? The first thing out of the slave's mouth was, my king, everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is in God's will. It made the king so mad that when they got back to the kingdom, he ordered the slave to be thrown in jail. Months later, about a year later, the king's nub had healed, and he was all by himself. So he went out hunting by himself, because once again, his slave, trusted slave, was locked up in jail. King went out hunting, and a bunch of savages captured the king. And in their tradition, that when they capture somebody, they sacrifice that person to their gods. So they prepared the altar, and they laid the king out on that altar. And just before they were getting ready to sacrifice this king, the head savage said, wait a minute, we cannot sacrifice this man. He's missing a finger. This is an imperfect sacrifice. Let him go. So they let the king go, and he ran back to his kingdom, and he's ordered that his slave be let out of jail. The slave got before him, he said, my slave, this God that you talked about was there for me. I was getting ready to get killed, and your God showed up. And then the king said, but wait a minute, why did your God allow me to throw you in jail for over a year? This is what the slave said. He said, my king, if I had been with you that day, like I usually am, I would have been sacrificed, because I have all my limbs. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. Everything, listen to me clearly, is in God's will. Do y'all believe that this morning? This afternoon? I truly believe that. I truly believe that. The topic that we're going to be discussing today is grief. How many of y'all have been there? Every hand should go up. I got two of mine up. Heard about the young man that just passed away in your church. Friend of mine. I worked at the VA for 8 years. I would see him all the time. And I got the word this past Friday. Dr. Duncan came to me and said, would you come to the church and speak about grief? I said, yes, I will. The next day I got a phone call. The next day, after I agreed to come speak to you about grief, I get a phone call from Huntsville, Alabama. My best friend for over 36 years died the next day, after I agreed. The day before, this young lady's brother-in-law died. So once again, people can show you sympathy. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Does anybody know that in this room? Yes, sir. What's the difference?
One is you've experienced it. The other one, I got it mixed up. One of you in their place, and the other one, you've been through the experience and can. I can't get it.
You're absolutely right. Sympathy is being sorry for somebody. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I hadn't been through it, but I'm sorry. I feel for you. Empathy, I've been there. I know what you're going through because I've been there. And I believe all of us in this room have been there. Have you been there? We are going to get through it today. We are going to get through it together. Guaranteed. Isn't Isn't that a sweet thing? This is the beauty about people who know God. You are guaranteed to get through.
Amen.
If you don't know him, maybe, maybe not. But if you know him, you're guaranteed to get through. Isn't that sweet? There are 5 stages. There are 5 stages to grief. Did you all know that? How many of y'all? And here's the thing. Before I dive in, this is my motto. If you tell them, they'll forget. If you show them, they may remember. But if you involve them, they will understand. I'm going to say that again. If you tell them, they'll forget. If you show them, they may remember. But if you involve them, they will understand. So we're going to do this today. We're going to do this presentation today. Brian Keith Anderson is not going to do it. We're going to do it. Is that all right? All right. There are 5 stages to grief. And there's something that you can do about it every stage. Who knows the first stage to grief?
Probably denial.
Shock and denial. We've all been there. What does that mean, shock and denial?
Can't believe it.
Can't believe it. Do you know your body is automatically systemed to kick in this type of protection. That's why when you hear people that have just got the word, the first thing out of their mouth is what? No, no! Why? Why? Why do you think the first thing is, no, no?
Defense mechanism.
Defense can't accept it. Your body automatically kicks into gear. No, no, shock and denial. All right? Second stage of grief. Does anybody know it? This is when you get mad. Pain and guilt. Pain and guilt. Where does the pain come from?
For your loss.
For your loss. Where does the guilt come from?
Not doing what you could have done.
What you said to him last.
If I had when my mother died 4 years ago, first thing that was on my mind, did I tell her I loved her enough? Not only did I tell her, but did I show her I loved her? Was I there for her in her darkest hour? After the pain kicked in, then the guilt kicked in. How many of y'all have been there? You've been there? And when you have a history, let me tell you a little bit. When I first got to Augusta 14 years ago to take care of my mother who was ill, I was about 10 years in recovery. When I saw the condition that my mother was in, the first thing that kicked in my mind was, there's no way that I'd be able to stay sober if my mama was to pass away. No way! No way. So that the people that have a history of, even people that don't have histories of alcohol and drug addiction, tend to be easier led down that aisle in this phase. Why? Why do you think?
Coping.
Trying to numb the what? Pain. The pain. How many of y'all have ever been there? I'm being honest with you. But here's the kicker about this thing called recovery. I have built so much defense mechanism in me that when the day came and my mother passed away, you know what I did? I went downstairs. I was in Florence, South Carolina. And I went downstairs at the Carolina hospital. Told my family I got to go. After we cried and mourned for about a good half hour. I saw my mother take her last breath. And after I mourned for about a half hour, I said, family, I got to go. I'm headed back to Augusta. And they said, no, no, stay. I said, no, I got to go. I went downstairs, got in my car. I rolled all of my windows down. I searched for my Sam Cooke CD. I slid that Sam Cooke CD in, and I got back on I-20, and I cried all the way back to Augusta. And I got to the home, and I cried some more. Never once did I think about using drugs. Why? Why do you think? Somebody tell me why. What is the answer? I just told you earlier.
It's about your mother.
I had built up what in me already? That defense mechanism, that thing. And then once again, I'm supposed to be here tomorrow, so don't worry about copying all of this stuff down. I'm going to bring you copies tomorrow, right? But if you don't remember anything, I want you to try to remember this. The ability to motivate action from within is the most important skill you will ever learn. I'm going to repeat that because I need you to get it. The ability to motivate action from where?
Within.
Within is the most important skill you will ever learn. It ties into what we're dealing with. And I'm going to show you. I usually use 2 examples to prove this. First example is this. There are 3 frogs sitting on a log. One frog decides to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? 2. Why did y'all say 2?
It's 3.
Say it a little louder. Say it a little louder.
He decided. But he didn't do it.
There's still 3 frogs sitting on the log. We can decide what we're going to do all day long, but until we take what? Action, it means absolutely nothing. We're talking about how action speaks louder than words. It ties into what we're talking about. Second example is I need everybody to participate with me. Are y'all willing? We're going to get through this, what, together, all right? I need everybody to put an OK sign up in the air like this. Everybody in the room, just follow me. Put an OK sign up in the air. And I need y'all to take that OK sign that you got, and I need you to place that OK sign on your chin, just like that. Place it on your chin, just like that. All right, all right. All right, nobody placed it on their chin. Where did everybody place it at? Why did y'all place it up here? So then my actions speak louder than my words. Your actions will always speak up. So once again, you can't get it out of you if it ain't where? In ya. All right? So, and it ties in all together. Pain and guilt is the second stage of grief. Third stage, does anybody know? You done went through shock and denial. You done went through pain and guilt. What is the third stage?
Eating too much.
Say it again. Somebody said eating too much. Not, maybe. Anger and bargaining. Anger and bargaining. Who you angry at?
God.
Who else? Who else?
The person's ass.
Who else? Anybody that comes in your path. Aren't you angry with them? Why do you think anger kicks in? Why? Why do you think anger kicks in?
There's another coping device, I don't know.
It's another coping device. Yeah. You have got to let that thing, what's ever in you, out. And trust me, every stage of grief is normal. So don't let nobody tell you that you got to be over it at a certain point in time. If they tell you, they're lying to you. I don't care if it's a doctor with a PhD, they're lying to you. Everybody is different. Everybody takes their time getting through these things. All right? So anger and bargaining. Who you bargaining with?
Satan.
Why are you bargaining with Satan? Who are you bargaining with in this stage? And once again, bargaining can go in any stage, even before death. Lord, if you just let her live a little while longer. Lord, if you just hold on. And we are being selfish. Did you know that when we make those statements? Why are we being selfish? Why? Huh?
For our own benefit.
That person could be in so much pain. But we're crying, Lord, just let them hold on. Just don't take them from me now, Lord. Bargaining. Lord, if you just leave them here, I'll stop drinking, Lord. Lord, if you just leave them here, I'll do what you say, Lord. That's the third stage, anger and bargaining. Fourth stage, does anybody know? After you've been through shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining. What's the fourth stage?
Acceptance.
Depression and loneliness. Depression and loneliness. It kicks in now. It gets heavy on you now. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? I don't care if you had a crowd of people in the room. Loneliness can still kick in. Why? Why does loneliness still kick in?
You're missing that person.
Missing that person. You spend time with that person. You love that person. Seems like all of that is gone, doesn't it? But it's no time to be alone. Did you know that? When you're going through? Why? Why not? Why is it that the worst time to be alone?
You're susceptible to almost anything.
Susceptible to almost anything. So should you hang around people that say, Lord, child, I know, I had 5 people in my family that died, and they all died, and we were all sad. And should you hang around those people? No. Why not?
They're the best ones, isn't it?
They'll depress you more.
They're just adding fuel to what? To your fire.
Group therapy.
But you need people that's going to boost you up. We're going to get through this thing together. God. And once again, the beautiful thing about people that know the Lord,
Yes.
Man, we got something extra. Did you know that? We've got something extra that other folk that don't know him ain't got. How many of y'all in this room got, listen to this phrase that I'm about to say. I've got too much evidence to not have confidence that the Lord's going to make a way somehow. I'm going to say it again because I need you, do you believe that? I've got too much evidence to not have confidence that the Lord's going to make a way somehow.
That's right, oh yes.
Do you believe that? How many of y'all got evidence in your past and he was there? He was there. Even when you wasn't there for yourself, he was there. I believe it was David who said, when I make my bed in hell, thou art there. Now, my daddy's a preacher. And back in the day, they used to preach. Now, boy, when you go to the club, the angel got to wait outside for you. And until you get out the club, because he ain't going in the club with you. That's not what David said. David said, when I make my own bed in hell, thou art where? He didn't say they standing outside waiting on you. He said what? Thou art there. Thou art there. First stage is what? Can anybody remember?
Denial.
Shock and denial. Second stage is what?
Pain.
Pain and guilt. Third stage is what?
Anger and bargaining.
Fourth stage is what?
Depression.
And the fifth stage, anybody know it? Who said that? Acceptance. Acceptance. Now this does not mean that you're over the person's death. It does not mean that. This means that you have accepted that death as a new part of your life. A new part. Everything old has changed. This is something brand new. Do you still cry over them? Yeah, you will.
Yeah, oh yes you do.
Do you still mourn over them every now and again? Yeah, you will. Do you still yearn for them? Yeah, you will. All right? So, here's the thing. A lot of people, when they do grief classes, they tell you the 5 stages, but they don't tell you what to do. You're about to get through this thing together. What you do. What you do. Before we go to, let's brainstorm. I want to see if y'all got some things on that I got on my list. What do you do when you have accepted it? That doesn't mean you stop mourning. That doesn't mean you stop crying. That doesn't mean you stop missing them. But what do you do? What do you do?
Keep praying.
What does that mean? Pray. What else? What else?
Move on.
Move on. How do you do that?
You can't talk about it. Talk
Huh?
about it.
Talk about it. Why? That's doing what? Getting it what? Can I ask a question? I know we're in church. Yes, sir.
You can act on it.
You can act on it. Let me ask this question, and I'm coming back to that. And I know we're in church, but I'm going to ask this question. I need y'all to be serious with me, all right? How many of y'all have ever been sloppy drunk before besides me? Come on, Christians. Come on, Christians.
Not ever.
To the point that the only thing that made you feel better was to
Get it out.
get it out. How many of y'all been there besides me? I said, you ain't been that bad? Sometimes the only thing that makes you feel better is to get it out. All right? Now go back to your, what did you say?
Act on it.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that in a situation, a lot of people don't know the solution themselves.
Yeah.
So they have to seek out the answer.
Yeah.
And once a person seeks out the answer to their problem, then they can act on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I believe it was Frederick Douglass who said, I prayed for 20 years and received no answer until I started praying with my legs. Somebody explain what he meant by that?
Got it. Action.
Thank you. Too often, especially us in church, pray on it, brother. Pray on it, sister. Everything's going to be all right. You got to get up off them knees and go do something about it. Prayer without works is what? Dead. Let's put in the work now. You know one of the most powerful tools in getting through this acceptance stage? Praising God. Now, is that easy? Don't lie to me now. Is that easy? Why isn't it easy?
Aren't you still angry?
Still angry.
Holding God at fault.
Man with God.
Anybody should be angry, but it is not easy to let go and let God.
Why?
Because you want to think you're in control, and you're not.
And that's ego.
And
you
God
blame
is in
him.
control.
That's ego.
You turn yourself over to God.
EGO, edging God out. EGO. We edge God out when we try to do this thing by ourselves. Can't do it, all right? But once again, we got to act. We must start praising God in the midst of the storm.
Yes.
That ain't easy to do.
All right, all right.
That ain't easy to do. What else can we do? We have to watch what we focus on. Whatever you focus on, you give power to. Did you know that?
Yes, Lord.
What does that statement mean? Whatever you focus your energy on, you give power to.
Yeah.
What does that statement mean?
If you're
Whatever you
caught-
feed is going to grow.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whatever, if you're focusing on the pain, oh, that death, oh, that loved one is gone, oh, what are you doing to it? You're giving it what?
strength.
Power.
Power. So focus on the good time. How many of y'all that have ever lost a loved one that you had so many good times with? I can think back on me and my partner, we had some of the best times ever. I can think about me and my mother, we had some of the best times ever. I focus on those. What else can we do? What else? Anybody? Anybody? You also must give back. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Give back.
Give service.
Give service.
Service.
Give service, yeah.
Bring it back to the community.
Give it back. What happens when you give? When you're in the midst of the storm and you start giving back, what
You
happens?
forget about self.
That storm don't seem too hard no anymore, does it? Once you start giving back, there's a gospel song that says, we can't beat God's giving. No matter how hard we try, the more we give, guess what? The more he gives to you. So just keep on what? Giving, because you what? Know it's true. You can't beat God's giving no matter how hard you try.
Yes, Lord.
Okay. Those are the 5 stages of grieving. Once again, you all don't have to remember them because I'll be back tomorrow to give them to you. And we're going to get through this thing together. It's all what you focus on. There can be a water leak in this roof. 2 people can look at it in 2 different ways. One person can look at it and say, oh Lord, I'm going to get mold. That thing is going to mold and my allergies are going to mess up and it's going to get all kind of mold on it and Lord, the water's going to get, and then another person can say, there's a leak in this old building and my soul has gotten moved. One person can look at a mountain in front of them and say, Lord, why another mountain? I'm tired of climbing mountains, Lord. Another person can look at that same mountain and say, Lord, don't move my mountain. Just give me the strength to climb it. Same mountain, same leak, 2 different ways of looking at it. Same situation that we are in, grieving. So how do we get over it? How do we get over it? You associate with people that pretty much have been there. And they don't focus on the pain of it all. They focus on we're going to make it through together. 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 We're going to get through this thing together. It's not going to be easy. I still have times where I cry. When I go visit my mother's grave, I cry. My mother's been dead for 4 years. I cry. I'm going to bury my partner this coming Sunday. I'm sure tears will be shed. I cry. But you know what? I keep moving. Keep moving. Because guess what? There's a song that Kurt Carr put out that says, for every mountain you've brought me over. For every trial you've seen me through. For every blessing. Hallelujah. For this, what? I give you praise. He's praising for his mountains.
Yes.
We talked about praising in the midst of the storm, didn't we? Praising for his mountain. I believe that Christ got mad when those disciples woke him up. I believe that, and preacher, help me out. I believe that the disciples got mad, that Christ got mad, or not mad, but kind of upset because he says, oh, ye of little faith. I believe he got mad because he knew that they could have calmed the storm themselves. I believe. The word says when he picked them, he gave them power. Did you know that? When he chose them, he gave them power. So I believe that in the midst of that storm, they already had the power in them. Once again, the ability to motivate action from where is the most important skill you will ever learn. Yes, sir.
He said, greater things than I have done shall you do.
Yeah. So sometimes he wants us to show up and show out. Even in the midst of the storm, he wants us to show up and show out. How many of us in this room right here have heard all the sermons, have heard all the lectures, and still go through sometime? Come on, let's be honest. Still go through sometime. So what do? But guess what? I'm here to tell you, once again, if you don't remember anything from this session, first I want you to remember the ability to motivate action from where? Within. It's the most important skill you will ever learn. There are 3 steps to getting over any obstacle in your life. 3 simple steps. The first step is show up. It's what you did this evening. You keep showing up. When your mind says stay at home, I'm depressed now, leave me be, you keep what? Showing up. So the first step is what? Show up. Second step is believe in the dark. Believe in the, what do I mean by believe in the dark?
When you can't see your way.
When you can't see your way, believe you're going to make it what? Anyhow.
That's right. Oh, yes.
So the first step is what? The second step is what?
Believe in it.
The third step is play through it. Play through it. Let me explain what I mean. There was a commercial out with Michael Jordan many years ago. And he was in game 6 of a championship game. And he was sick as a dog. And when the whistle blew for the timeout, Scottie Pippen would have to carry him to the bench. He was just that weak. And at halftime, they had to put IVs in him to get him rehydrated. But when the whistle blew to get back in the game, guess what? He got back in the game. That's what a champion does. They play through it. He had all the excuses in the world. I'm going to sit out this game, y'all. This is only game 6. If we lose it, I'll come back in game 7. No, a champion with a champion's heart and a champion's mind, I'm going to play through this thing. His it was the flute. What is your it? What's your it? What's your it this morning that has stopped you in your tracks? What's your it? Is it that mountain that we talked about? That one person says, Lord, I can't stand another mountain. And another person says, Lord, don't move it. Just give me the strength. Is it that spot in the ceiling where there's water's been leaking? But one person looks at it and says, Lord, I'm going to get my allergies are going to mess up from this, the pollen. Another person says, there's a leak in this old building and my soul has gotten moved. What's your it? What's your it this morning, this evening? What do you need to play through? Don't stop, just keep going. Keep going anyhow. First step is what? Second step is what?
Believe in the dark.
dark. And the third step is what?
Play through
Play
it.
through it.
Amen.
Getting over any obstacle in your life. 3 steps, and you can make it. You can make it. There's an amazing thing that God does, and that I've realized. My daddy's a preacher, and I love hearing sermons about the men of old, the Davids and the Joshuas and Moses, and all those stories gets us hyped in church. And it seems like fire is flowing from the pulpit when the preachers talk about those men of old, don't it?
Yes, Lord.
But guess what? Guess what is more powerful than all of those stories?
God.
A living testimony. What has God done for you? Or do you got to always go to the Word? Word is good. The Word says, taste and see that the Lord is good. So we got to go there. But if you can't pull out one from your own life, if you can't pull out something from your own life, something is missing, my brother. Something is missing, my sister. You need to. I look back over my life, and that's the song that says, what does it say? I'm going to lay down this world, show up on my cross, take it home to my kingdom, made that good news. I'm going to look back and wonder how I got over. I think that's the last thing that's going to be on my mind when I get there. I'm not going to look back at how, I'm just going to be too busy dancing and praising that I'm there. I'm not going to be looking back at nothing. Forget that. I made it. And I made up my mind that for some reason, and it's still on topic, y'all. It's still on topic. I want to be the last person in the gates.
All right.
Do you know why I want to be the last person in the gates? That means that God he sat around and waited for everybody. And I can just imagine him saying, when the angels say, God, can we close the gate? There's one more out there. That means he kept it open just for me. Everybody, all y'all already in there. He's still watching. He got one more to go. So I want to be the last one. Everybody say, I want to be the first one. I want to be the last one. That means he's watching the gate. Making sure that young man make it in. Why? When my mother died, first thing I did was gave back. I wrote this book called Beautiful Scars. And on the topic of it has everything that I've been through. The jail, the molestation, the homelessness, the suicide attempts, and everything is in this book. This book has led me into being on TBN twice. Y'all know what TBN is? I went from a crack house to TBN. I went from laying in the back of an ambulance after trying to commit suicide from going on Atlanta Live with millions of viewers. And some people say, brother, you're bragging a little bit. And I say I am. I'm bragging on what God can do. That's what I'm bragging on. Because I remember when, once again, if you can't pull out something from your own life, guess what? That keeps you. Yes, sir. That keeps you. That keeps you in times of grief. Well, Lord, I know I'm grieving now, but I remember when. How many of y'all can remember when? Amen. And guess what? You made it through that thing. Yes. You're still here. You're still here. All things happen for a reason. Nothing happened by chance. Everything is in God's will. I'm going to tell you this one last story, then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. And it's on topic. When Christ was planning his triumphant journey into Jerusalem, he told a couple of the disciples, I need you to go to this particular farmhouse, and I need you to get this particular donkey. And he said, now the donkey that I want, make sure he's the one that has been tied up all his life. Make sure he's the one that has never been ridden. Make sure you pick the one that hadn't been broken yet. And then Christ said this amazing thing. He said, if the people there ask you why I chose that one, you tell them I have need of him. What an amazing God we serve. Tied up, never been ridden, hadn't been broken. Why would you think Christ would have need of that one? Come on.
To show his glory.
To show his glory. And I love that story because I remember, I can imagine Satan going to God one day. I said, look at him, God. That 5-year-old boy, he's homeless. Can I have him? I can hear Christ say, leave him be, I have need of him.
Amen.
And I can hear God tell Satan going to God and say, look at him, God, he's just trying to commit suicide. Can I have him now?
All right.
And then God said, leave him be. I have need of him. Tied up, never been ridden, hadn't been broken. I have need of him. Guess what? We all in this room, he got need of us. And the burdens have been put on our shoulders to help people get through. You're grieving now. Go tell somebody that they can make it. Who's ever grieving? I'm going down to Huntsville, Alabama to tell somebody you can make it.
Amen.
As my partner lies there in the coffin, I'm going to make sure somebody knows that they can make it. I'm going to give back. When my feet hit Huntsville, Alabama line, I'm starting to give back. Right then and right there. Because once again, I believe Christ told Satan years ago when I was going through, leave that boy alone, I got need of him. Yeah, he's going to go through some grief in his life, but I got need of him. Yeah, he's going to lose his mama. I have need of him. Yeah, he's going to end up in jail several times. I got need of him. Yeah, he's going to try to take his life twice. I got need of him. We all have a story to tell. Did you know that?
Yes.
We all got a story to tell. And God, the amazing God that we serve, he has proven it over and over again in our lifetime that he can get us through the storms of life. Did you know that? That song says, my soul has an anchor in the Lord. How many of y'all got anchor? What is the use of an anchor? Somebody tell me. Then we're going to open it up.
Hold you in place.
Place.
Hold you in place.
Why would we need to be anchored?
So we won't drift away.
I believe because he knew that, guess what? There's going to be some storm that's coming.
That's right, temptations.
There's going to be some temptations that's on the way. There's going to be some trials. But I heard a preacher say that God, he weighs that thing before he even gives it to us. He weighs and measures it. And then he says, that's your size. Put it on.
All right.
Yeah. I done weighed it. That's your size. Wear it. He weighs it and he measures it before he even allows it to be put on us. So if he has that confidence in us, guess what? We need to have that confidence in him. Go ahead and cry, but keep moving. Go ahead and mourn sometime, but guess what? Keep moving. Go ahead and even if you got to fall to your knees, guess what? Keep moving. Keep moving. Grief is going to be here until Jesus cracked the sky. Did y'all know that? It's going to be here until he cracks the sky. And I'm looking forward to the day when all of the loved ones that I've lost, that you've lost. My lady friend and I went and put a tombstone on my mother's, well, we purchased a tombstone for my mother's grave. She has been without a tombstone for 4 years. So when I finally got hold of some extra money, I went and purchased it. And I'm looking forward to going down there. They're going to finish it this week. I'm looking forward to going down there because one thing I want to look at when I get there, in my mind, I can't wait till this thing get cracked all up.
All right.
You know what I mean by cracked all up?
Come up out.
Come up out of there. I can't wait. Yeah, I just bought it. Yeah, it's spanking brand new. Yeah, it's going to be looking all nice and shiny. And I may take a picture of it. But in my mind, I'm saying I can't wait until it get all broke up. Until it get all broke up. We're going to get through this thing together.
Amen.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Repeat after me. There's no place, like this place. Nowhere near this place. So this must be the place. One more time. There's no place, like this place. Nowhere near this place. So this must be the place. Thank you for your time. Anybody got any questions before we get up out of here?